Aaron.
Yeah.
Why didn't you say it the first time I said Aaron?
Because it's pronounced Aaron.
You done messed up, Aaron.
Aaron is here with the lovely, relatable Reese. How's it going? Merry Christmas, happy holidays.
How was your Christmas, Aaron? I missed you and I wondered how it went. Did you wear a Santa hat?
I did not wear a Santa hat, but I should have. It was actually
That's a missed opportunity.
It was very relaxing and chill Christmas compared to previous ones. It was a lot of fun. The
Was it
kids
really?
had a blast. How about you? How did Huxley do? How did he make out?
He really made out well. A lot of our people that we're talking to here right now sent Huxley many, many gifts.
Wow.
And they sent me a lot of gifts. And yeah, it was very nice. As you know, Aaron, or you might have forgotten, this was our first Christmas being non-Scientologists in the world. So it was weird. I felt a little emotional. We're coming up on our 1-year anniversary next week that you did that video. And it's taken a little bit of an effect on me. I mean, I'm okay, but it's weird, right? It's weird that it's been a year. I've only had this channel for 4 months.
16 weeks. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And what are you at? Almost 20,000 subscribers now?
I'm only about 100 away from 18,000. So if people want to come over, if they like me and subscribe, please do so. Because I'd like to get to 18,000 by the end of the year. Wouldn't that be cool? Well, I would hope we could get to 18,000 by the end of the year. I only have 100 to go, but I'm not going to be greedy. I don't want to be greedy. So yeah, that's what's going on, but it's been great. And Aaron, honestly, these people are amazing and like seriously, so supportive. And so it's been nice.
That's awesome. Well, let's try to get you to 20,000 by the end of the year. We have 5 days left. If you're watching this video on my channel, Reese's channel is Relatable Reese. In the live chat, moderators, please, or admins, is it moderators, admins? I forget. Please put a link to Reese's channel in the description. Oh, there it is. Lydia put it up there. Lydia von Stretchklaw. And I'll pin a link to your channel in the description, in the pinned comment when we're done with this. Okay.
What a little angel.
Oh, thanks. Speaking of Huxley, we have another recorded phone call from Scientology 00 Reese, Scientology secret agent 00 Reese. And this is a phone call that you recorded with your former mother-in-law, who's still a very dedicated Scientologist. And she was taking a very strong interest in Huxley. She was very, very concerned that you might let Huxley fall into the hands of the evil psychs. Oh my God. If he spoke to a therapist at school, the world would come grinding to a halt. The Galactic Federation might collapse under the weight of the failure of her, of the prospect of Huxley maybe speaking to a counselor or a therapist. Xenu forbid. What was going on here?
Yeah. Did you listen to it or some of it?
Well, as I was doing the edits, I have not listened to all of it, but it's very clear that it's one of these things where, you know, even though Brenda wasn't even living in the same state as you, she's acting like it's her job to make sure that Huxley's being parented in accordance with traditional Scientology values.
Yes, I tried to listen to some of it this morning after I washed my hair, and it's a lot, guys. But it's what do you think, Aaron? This took place about a year ago, and about a year ago, Huxley, guys, was in 7th grade. He just was starting junior high, and we were having nothing terrible, but just some kind of behavioral issues, which I find to be probably everybody feels that way. It's universal. I had a hard time myself in 7th grade, but he was adjusting not well. And we were talking to the school counselor. And I just kind of wanted to preface that so you understand what's going on. But I also was edging into letting her know my true feelings about Scientology in this conversation as well. So it was that, but it was also me trying to kind of, I don't know, I want to say step lightly, but there was a few points where I was pretty heavy about it and upfront with her. So don't you think?
Would you say that was kind of the purpose of this call, is you're pretty much already out of Scientology mentally, but they didn't, you know, kind of being an under the radar member, and you're sort of throwing her these, well, it's kind of softballs, but really from a Scientologist perspective, kind of hardballs to get her to respond the way a Scientologist would respond to these very, very normal things. Yeah, Jen, wasn't there a recording like that already? This is a continuation of the series of recordings that we've already done, Jen.
Yeah. Yeah, this is either part of the phone call I can't remember, Aaron, because it's been so long, but this is either part of the previous phone call that we've already played, or this is a separate call. The call was like 2 hours long that I had with her. So Aaron and I have broken it up into segments. This is a 2-part. I just figured let's just play the rest of it. This is the rest of the phone call. I think we played the first half before.
Yes, this one picks up in the middle of a conversation that is clearly being had about whether there's an appointment being scheduled with the school counselor, between Huxley and the counselor. And so
we
shall we
just
a
little bit? Yeah, we go into her son a little bit, guys, which is Huxley's dad, Michael. We kind of go into just my feelings on Scientology, but that'll speak for itself. We can do it, Aaron.
Awesome. I'm seeing a lot of people in the chat saying they're catching live for the first time. So welcome all of you. And feel free to put some questions in here. We'll take them up after we're done playing the recording and having a bit of a chat about some updates. Yeah, here we go. Just let me know whenever you want me to stop it, Reese, okay?
Okay.
All right.
With the assistant principal.
Yep.
With the assistant principal. Like, I thought you were going to set up an appointment with him, or he was going to do some deep dive.
Yeah, he kind of disappointed me. He said he didn't really find much. He said, we've got a lot of eyes on Huxley. At this point, he said, I think that we need to involve the school counselor, which we did. And I talked to her, and she had a session with Huxley, and she was like, he really didn't have much to say. And they have a school therapist that's like a licensed therapist. And she said, I think that maybe it would be good for her for him to talk to the therapist, which he's a guy, I guess, the therapist. And she said we could work out like weekly appointments with him. And I said, I'm not against that. And she sent me some paperwork. I have to fill out like HIPAA forms and stuff. And I haven't done that yet. So that's really the only place I'm at with the school right now.
I got it. Well, that's what I was wondering is when you were talking about, seeing someone, I do remember you saying that they had like a school counselor, and I just wondered how that had gone with the assistant principal.
Yeah, he hasn't seen the school therapist yet, and I'm not so sure that I would have him. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to meet the guy, but if I have Huxley see a therapist, it's going to be private pay and somebody that I want to meet first and make sure that I like him. I'm not just going to have him, blindly see the school therapist. I want to make sure it's, he doesn't seem weird. That's where we're at with the school. He served his suspension on Friday.
And what is that when they serve a suspension?
It's called ISS, in school suspension. So he's in a room the whole day. He doesn't have any classes. His work is given to him in the room, and he just does it.
Is there a teacher there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to let you know that I'm here for you, whatever you need me to do. Or Doug to do, or that Doug would drop everything and do whatever you would want him to.
I do, but Doug is only going to apply Scientology, and I have a feeling he's going to have a real problem when he finds out that I don't want any Scientology applied. Mm-hmm. I don't know that he will know how to help.
But like I say, though, all of this time, he's known, ever since that disaster happened with, signing Huxley up for that course, without you guys' permission, he's known not to do that.
Right. I'm not talking about him like taking him to the org. I'm just saying Doug's only solutions are kind of like you. It's only going to be in Scientology. That's the only thing you guys know how to do. And I don't have any interest in that. And so Doug is going to probably freak out because there's no other avenues. What will he do to help if he can't do what he knows?
I'm just saying, like, if we do non-secular things, like like helping him word clearing or just talking to him and listening to him. That's just normal, talking and listening. I'm not going to have him audit him. I'm not going to he doesn't even know how to do a Dianetic session. I'm not going to have him do a Dianetic session.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I've always wondered where I got the idea. She said non-secular. Non-secular means religious. Secular means non-religious. I've always been making this mistake, and I wondered where I got the mistake from. And it's because so many Scientologists use the word incorrectly. They think secular means religious and that non-secular means non-religious.
I thought it meant non-religious.
I'm looking up secular right now, and it says denoting attitudes, activities, or other things that have no religious or spiritual basis. Secular. Okay. And so secular means non-religious.
I didn't know that. I thought it was the opposite. I just wanted, while you're paused, Maggot, is this continued from whenever she asked if Doug should get onto the school? Yes. This is the second part of that phone call. And just for the people who have never listened to this, I'm sure there are people going, why do you have a recorded phone call? I'm not wearing my Apple Watch today, but on my Apple Watch, when all of these, I was under the radar with Aaron, some of these calls I felt like were important for me. I would never intended to play this for the world. I was starting to get my therapy help, and I was kind of going nuts, and I felt like they were maybe gaslighting me a little bit. And I wanted to be able to go back and listen to these calls and kind of see how I handled it and what they said instead of me trying to remember it. So that's all. I just wanted to answer that too. I really, truly never intended to share this. That's why there's a lot of noise in the background, and I just didn't think I would be sharing them with the world. We can go on.
Okay. Guys, we got about 1,300 people watching across both channels. Please remember to hit that like button. Thank you very much. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Or even a self-analysis session or TRs. Doug hasn't attempted to do any of those things. I mean, I just want you to be assured. I think I'm coming across as being defensive, and I don't mean to do that. I just want you to be assured that Doug is not doing those things. The only thing he would be doing is using a communication cycle of, asking someone a question, listening to what they say, and then acknowledging them, which is what you do every day.
Right. I'm not worried about any of that. I'm just saying he's going to assess the situation, and I'm guessing he's going to say, this is what we need to do with him. And LRH says this, and this is, that's how.
Does he do that? I'm just asking. Does he do that?
Fuck yeah. He does it all the time. It drives Jeff crazy. Yeah.
This part sounds familiar. Is it possible this part is a repeat from previous?
We've played so damn many of these. I don't know, but I kind of don't think so.
Okay. Just checking.
I don't know. And even if it was, not everybody's heard this, and this was months in between.
I was just wondering.
But maybe, Aaron, I kind of wondered that too. There was a part where I was like, have we already heard this? But I think I've repeated myself with her so much. Do you notice that too? Right. She keeps pushing back, and I have to push back. So I don't know, honestly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he does it all the time. Okay. Yeah, he'll be like, well, per LRH, and LRH says Jeff doesn't like Scientology at all. He's rubbed the wrong way about it because of what I've said. My experience is in it. And he's like, that's not right. So yeah, Doug comes over here and he says it to Huxley too. He'll be like, well, LRH was a Boy Scout, and LRH says that. And it's like, yeah, we don't care. I don't give a shit about what LRH says. I'm sorry, but I don't believe in any of that. It bothers me. And so, yeah, but Brenda, that is all he knows. He lives and eats and breathes Scientology. That's all he knows. I'm not surprised that he behaves that way. That's how most religious people are, if that's how involved in the religion they are. It's no different than, well, per Corinthians, or the Bible says, or the Lord, that's just how people are that are really indoctrinated.
Well, I understand what you're saying. And I didn't know that he was doing that to that extent, because I have talked to him about it. Shoot, I lost my train of thought.
Get your TRs in, Brenda.
He literally said to me the other day with Jeff, We were talking about Huxley, and he goes, I
This is
know this
funny.
is so simple and basic, but I'm on this course. And he was like, LRH says, and Jeff and I mean, I almost burst into laughter. He said, LRH says that wherever there's a point where things go crazy and like come undone, and, you know, because we were talking about Huxley, and he was like, things just flip on their side and they change. He goes, wherever there's a point that happens, he was like, something went wrong. I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like, is there more to that? You're telling me that wherever something goes haywire, something went wrong? That's what LRH does? Like, come on. I don't understand what.
Yeah, I get it.
Of course,
I get
of
it.
course, that's basic. That's of course true. I mean, yes. Yes, that makes a lot of sense to me. Those are basic things that it doesn't take, you know, most people to realize that. So yeah, he does that a lot with me and
Okay.
Jeff, and I tolerate it. I mean, I even give the guy slack for it. He's on course every day, and so are you. It's what you guys learn every day. That's
Do
just
I do
not within
that?
my reality. No,
Do I
you
do that?
you've never really done the violation of the verbal tech, though. I mean, we talked about that when I lived in my old house, you know, how Doug would constantly be like, LRH says this and LRH, and you're like, he's not supposed to do that, you know? So no, I feel
Yeah.
like Michael and I both talked to you about that. And you were like, yeah, I'm sorry. He does that. I mean, you never really violated that.
Okay. Well,
And it doesn't bother me other than it unless it gets excessive, you know, like he'll go on down a rabbit hole of a story, and eventually I'll be like, oh, okay, like, you know, but it doesn't, I'm not like really pissed about it. I grew up on that. My dad, every word out of his mouth was, you know, LRH says. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't live and breathe by LRH anymore. I think a lot of the things he said are total cuckoo. Just looking back on it, just thinking about it, I'm like, I don't agree with that. It doesn't feel right. So yeah, I mean, I don't get upset about that so much. Doug means well, and that's what matters to me. Doug is would show up at my house if I called him at any hour of the day and said, I need your help. Doug is one of the few people on this planet that I know I can count on. So I'm not throwing Doug under the bus. I love Doug, and he's super helpful. The problem is I don't really want the kind of help he offers.
okay. Well, I got the boundaries. You're not going to be declared for this. I'm not going to have to disconnect from you. I mean, it could simply be.
I thought there was no such thing as disconnection.
Yeah, I go into that a little more, but that's actually why some of this is sad. We go into that at the end.
I guess Brenda didn't get the memo that there's no such thing as disconnection as you're characterizing it.
I'm not going to have to disconnect from you.
We just need to get her the memo because she didn't get it. That's the problem. She just needs to
Right.
get it.
Yeah, she's missing that.
Be a thing like we just agree to disagree on Scientology. I mean, not, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, okay, it's fine. I will, you know, it's like as if we were talking to someone who didn't know anything about Scientology. Now, sometimes I do bring up, like I did bring up, you know, the other day, I said, hey, what do you think about this? Or, you know, do you remember this or whatever? I'm just trying to find out like where you stand. And it's very clear now to me where you stand. Whereas before I didn't necessarily know that. And I know that, for instance, when we were at ITO, or no, you told me that Michael said something like, hey, I don't want to do anything that'll get my parents in trouble or, you know, or whatever. And it's like, okay, so, you know, you don't agree, but you're not like trying to stop me. You're not, you know, it's kind of like my sister told me, she goes, I see that you and Doug, this is years ago, I see that you and Doug are Scientologists. You guys said you wouldn't change. And
I just got to say, she does sort of imply there that she just sort of acknowledged that if you had done or said something, it would have gotten her into trouble. Like she does acknowledge that. I'm not sure she's aware that that's what she's just done, but.
And what somebody said, what is ITO? Is that, tell us what that is.
So
Aaron?
that's it stands for International Training Org. It's a special training area located at middle management, where there it used to be where they would train executives as opposed to like auditors. Usually when you have Scientology staff members being sent away for training, they're training to become Scientology auditors or course supervisors. But ITO is a special course room at middle management where they would go to train people that were supposed to go back and be executives at their orgs. So that's what ITO is.
Okay. And I also was listening to this here. I think it's coming up. I really like the point I make here, but I don't feel like she got it. What she's about to say is she says, you're not asking me to not do Scientology because that's a huge crime in Scientology. And I say to her, yeah, but it doesn't go the other way. I'll let you guys listen. But anyway, go on.
Okay.
You know, I can see that that's true. It's just not for me. And I know that my parents all felt that way. You know, like they didn't want to do Scientology, but they didn't say anything about me doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's the situation that I have with you and Jeff, is that, you know, you're not planning on doing it, you know, and so, you know, but you're not trying to keep me or Doug from doing it.
No, not at all. I feel very live and let live.
Yeah, it's you. That's how my mom was. She goes, I stopped arguing about religion years ago. It doesn't do any good. You know, she goes, I just don't even go there with people.
Yeah,
So,
the only thing I'll say about that is that's not really applied though back. Like that doesn't go both ways, I feel. Like I don't want to say, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. But if I say I don't have any interest in doing this, I don't feel like it's a simple, okay, well, we won't then. It's pushed. And I've had that conversation with many people over the phone, even like within the last year. I've talked to a couple people where I'm like, look, I don't have any interest in Scientology. And they're like, well, let's kind of dive into that. Let's, you know, basically pull the string. And I'm like, look, I just don't want to do it. Okay, well, can you remember a time that you like, it's like, no, see, you're not really respecting what I'm not telling you you should leave. So like, I wish you would not say to me like, well, how can we, you know, I've done a lot of hard thinking about this. I'm like, I don't really need some stranger to, you know, go, well, when was the first time that you, I don't know. I wish the respect went both ways.
I understand. Well, I feel like I'm really happy that we talked, because I feel like I understand way more. Like I did the other night too, when you were telling me, but now tonight I understand even more. And, you know, I appreciate that you haven't, you know, like, how do I say it? Like you haven't like put that on my line, so to speak. I mean, that's a little Scientology.
That's fine. Brenda, I grew up in Scientology for 35 years. So you're welcome to use the lingo. I understand what you're saying. It doesn't bother me. That stuff doesn't bother me. I don't have a problem saying TRs or high tone or upstat, any of those things. I don't have a problem. Those don't trigger me. It's what triggers me is, can we do TRs with Huxley or like that kind of stuff? It's a no.
Well,
but I don't
did ask you the other night because I was trying to find out, you know, I mean, I was not trying, I hope it didn't come off that I was trying to push it. I was just trying to find out like what you might, you know, how you might feel about it. I mean, I was pretty sure, but I just wanted to check. And also, you know, I was probably a little frustrated myself, like, you know, well, here's what I would do, but you know,
but see, that doesn't,
you don't want to do that.
It doesn't bother me because you've always been pretty respectful about it. I just don't, I've made up my mind and I'm like, this is just not an avenue, but I can still be friends with Scientologists. I can still talk about like using the lingo. I don't feel triggered in any way. It's when Doug comes over and I feel pushed by him going, well, what's crazy is LRH says that, and I'm like, yeah, I don't bow down and pray to LRH like everybody else. So if it sounds right, I can accept that as, yeah, that makes sense. But if it doesn't, I'm not just going to swallow it and go, well, LRH said it, so it has to be true. you know, so I
Yeah.
just don't like it kind of being shoved at me, that part.
Okay. And I appreciate that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk to Doug, and I'm just going to explain to him, look, and sometimes, I mean, he's probably not going to be perfect, because he even still kind of does it with people who don't even know about Scientology at all. Like, he'll once in a while, he'll say a Scientology word, it slips out, you know. But what I'm going to hat him up on or tell him is that
It slips out when you least expect it, like a wet fart.
I love how I don't know about you. I'm getting this is just all aggravating me. It's just annoying. But I think you and I talked about we get annoyed with people who would. I always in Scientology I understand was so disingenuous to me. Just did you hear though? She's like, and I appreciate that. No, you don't, and you don't understand. You're just blowing me off with your weird acknowledgments. Anyway, guys, the ding, Aaron just typed it, but somebody else said it after he typed it. It's just my phone going off in the recording.
Yeah. And I only said that because someone was asking us to turn off our notifications on our phones. And I was like, no, it's in the original recording.
Yeah, it's the original.
Guys, remember to hit that like button, please. It helps with notifications, believe it or not. All right, here we go.
just with Reese, and he does this with Michael. I'll have to ask him, but I don't think he says stuff to Michael. But I'll just say, look, with Michael and Jeff and Reese and Huxley, just talk to them as if they're
Brand new.
You know, they're brand new. They don't know.
Especially,
And
I will tell you, Michael, Brenda, I haven't spoken to Michael about this in probably at least a year. But the last time we had a conversation, he was like so triggered. He was like, I can't hardly talk to my dad. Like that. See, the stuff that doesn't bother me so much, I guess, like sends him into a frenzy. Like he just can't deal with it.
Like what?
Like just anything Scientology. Michael is like majorly damaged by whatever happened to him in his upbringing. He is like no strength about it. He has told me like it has fucked me up so bad. Like he's just feels very he told me that while Sam was successful, he was always felt extremely forced. And he gave me that example about, come on, do it, join staff. And they were like all huddled over him, getting him to sign, and he wouldn't do it. And he said he was crying. And Dan was like, go get Sam. And Sam came down, I guess, from wherever and was like, come on, it'll be cool. We're brothers. And like, so then he signed it. Like things like that, where he was highly manipulated and abused into doing things, I think really made Michael who he is today. And he told me that was from him. But I feel terrible for Michael. I really do. Like knowing the things I know and what he's told me in confidence, I'm like, I'm so glad I didn't end up like that. He's just like a puddle of anxiety all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's her
and
kid.
So when Doug talks about it and is like, hey, I read on my course.
That's her son you're talking about.
That's her son. She has no reaction. Mm-hmm. It's so robotic. Mm-hmm. I mean, did you guys just hear that story? He was like 15, I think, 16, when they made him join staff and he didn't want to sign the staff contract. And Dan O'Connor and a bunch of execs were around him trying to force him to do it. And he started crying. And I guess Dan said, go get Sam, which is Michael's older brother, who was a longtime staff member at that point. And Sam pressured him into signing. She didn't even care about that story. That's a child that they did that to. And guess what they made him? The receptionist. He went and answered phones for the next 2.5 years when he should have been in school.
Clearing the planet, one wrong phone number at a time.
And what is it? That's not some relative. That's his mother. No protection. No, she didn't even defend. I mean, it was just, that makes me very angry. You can go on.
Okay. Michael, he said it like sends me, my anxiety goes like through the roof. And I could see that if like he's that freaked out about it from all the things that happened to him to like bring it up and talk about it. Like like it's a success. Like me, I'm like, why would I put my kid through that? It was awful for me. I know you guys don't have those experiences, but Michael and I do. And so it's not successful to us.
Well, and I've talked to Doug about that before, and I had the idea that he didn't talk about those things with Michael, but maybe he is.
And maybe he doesn't anymore. Like I said, this was probably close to a year ago, maybe a little less. I know that I can't remember when I took Michael to Jack Stack that day. Remember when I took him to lunch and it was just me and him? I don't think that was quite a year ago. I want to say that was like in February or March of last year. And that's when he told me, and he's told me that stuff before, but that's when he said, like, I can hardly be around my dad. Like, it's just, it's like, I can't even, because he still talks about it like, hey, this is really good stuff. And he was like, I was already forced to do something I never wanted to do. And I feel like he's still forcing me to do it. And I can see how that would cause a person to have a lot of problems just in life. I mean,
sure. And, you know, he's, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I just think we were similar both from a very young age, kind of plopped into that and said, this is what you're going to do. Like, this is, we're saving planet Earth. This is for the greatest good. You know, we're not going to do family stuff. We're going to do church. You know, we're going to go to the church. We're going to be on course. We're going to do this. This is what's most important. It just backfired. And we weren't successful like Sam. And I don't know Abby's perspective, but I have a feeling she's got something going on there too, perhaps.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea on that, but she's another one that was around that isn't anymore.
Well, I think I told you this, but I did have a conversation with Michael, but it's been, probably 3 years ago, where I took him to First Watch, and, you know, I just basically, you know, he doesn't really open up too much with me. So I basically was kind of doing all the talking, but I just told him that, you know, I definitely know that there were things that we did, you know, regarding Scientology, like not getting, you know, his agreement and that sort of thing. And he acknowledged that. And so, you know, I tried to tell him I didn't, you know, I was doing everything I knew what to do as a parent. But now, you know, when I look back on it, like I wasn't doing it, you know, like I just know more now, and I would have done things differently, you know. Right. I would have, instead of just having the idea, this is what we do, I would have actually, like, you know, talked to him about it.
Right.
So I definitely made mistakes, and I did admit that to him. I'm pretty sure that Doug just does good roads, good weather now with Michael. Like, he doesn't, I don't think he brings it up, but who knows? Maybe he does say things, because I've told him, you know, look, it just, you know. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk with Doug, and I'm just going to explain that with all of you guys, you know, Michael included, just, you know, he can't be, you know, saying those things, but he just needs to, you know, as if he was talking with a patient, you know, who doesn't know anything about Scientology. And, you know, just do that. I'm not going to say that he's not going to slip up, you know, because like you say, he's pretty used to it, but he can do it.
Yeah, again, I'm not
perfect.
The weakling like Michael. I mean, I can handle it. He literally crumbles. So it makes me very sad for Michael. But yeah.
Well, right now we're talking about you guys, so
yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that when Michael and Doug get together, they only talk about, like, you know, movies and sports and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure
I hope so.
Going on for a long time.
I hope so. I hope that's the case. I do feel like Michael got a little bit of the shit end of the stick. Like, the last time I saw Sam and Fiona, I was sitting with Fiona at Dose, you know, remember, like a couple months ago?
Pause it.
And she just said some really harsh things about Michael, like really harsh.
I just wanted to explain, Sam and Fiona are Brenda's other kids, daughter-in-law Fiona. Sam is her other son, Michael's brother. They were in the Sea Org but got pregnant, so now they're out, but they're still huge Scientologists in Clearwater. And I'm about to kind of tell a little bit of a story about Sam and Fiona at a restaurant. I just didn't want people to be like, who is this now? That's all.
Got it. For anyone just joining, we got about 2,000 people watching right now. Hit that like button if you don't mind. Thank you, folks.
Harsh things. And
Really?
I just thought she's never liked Michael. I mean, I remember being married to Michael and she was like, what is he on drugs? Like, she's just not, there's no tolerance for Michael in her mind. And she just said some really, yeah,
Really?
yeah. You really had no idea of that? I mean, she's pretty harsh toward Michael for sure. I mean, she told me, we were sitting there at Dose and she was like, yeah, the guy is like basically suppressive to me. She was like, I just tried to get Sam to see that. I mean, it's his brother. And I probably shouldn't tell you this because she was like, this is in total confidence between us. She said, but Michael's the reason we moved to Clearwater. And I was like, really? Michael is the reason? She was like, I didn't want to be around that shit. She was like, he's just toxic. And I thought, well, he's toxic because of the abuse that he suffered in the religion that you're in, that no one came back and fixed for him. So the shit was misapplied. And I think there's a reason Michael is the way he is. And if I had to guess, it has a lot to do with the experiments that Scientology did with him that weren't done correctly. So I think it's really unfair to just leave the guy hanging like that and basically call him an SP, because that's really not the case. Now, I didn't say all that to her. We were sitting in a restaurant with Doug right across from me, but I thought that was really fucked up. You know?
Yeah. Well, that comes as a
Aaron.
surprise to me.
Well, I don't think she would ever tell you that. I mean, she made that pretty clear to me. She was like, this is just between us. And I was like, okay.
I'm just wondering what's actually going through her head as she is like,
is there anything going through her head? It's just like, it's nothing. And I think I'm getting more mad thinking about it, listening to this, because there's just no reaction. That's your child. You're not protecting him. That's a problem.
yeah. After saying that if she had to do it all over again, she would have done it differently, but she's still really not caring at all.
What's different? What would you have done differently? I don't see anything, any change. You're siding with your religion and you're leaving your kid out in the cold.
People are asking how old Michael is. I mean, he's
34 now. He's 5 years younger than me. So I met Michael when he was 9 years old and I was on staff.
Wow. You want me to keep going?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jesus, I wonder what she says about me or thinks about me, you know? But she's kind of like my dad in a sense where she is first to label anybody anything. I mean, I have heard so many times come out of her mouth, well, they're 1-1. Well, she's 1-1. Well, that's 1-1. It's like just they label shit so quickly. I don't know what to say about that. So I don't know how she truly feels about me, but I don't think she sees the whole picture there that Michael is the way he is for a reason, not just because the guy's an SP or a pothead. You know?
Right.
So anyway, that's just a whole other thing. But go ahead and call Doug and Jeff has had to go to some place where their printer isn't working and it's not connecting to the computer. So he's there and then he'll be home this afternoon and we have to run a couple different errands that we didn't get done yesterday. We were going to do, but then this Huxley thing happened. I will talk to Jeff about having Doug. I mean, are you thinking like having Doug once a week come over and like just see how he's doing? I mean, I don't have a problem with that if he's just going to work with him on schoolwork. The thing is, Huxley never has homework. But
well, the thing that they could do is, for one thing, it would be somebody there who, you know, that maybe you guys wouldn't end up in, you know, a lot of drama at night, and you guys could have a pleasant evening, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, but mainly, I mean, he could probably just start, you know, just ask him any subject. Like, I think that one time he was clearing powers because Huxley said he was having trouble with power. He could just ask him, hey, is there anything in your studies that, you know, there's something you don't understand or you have trouble with or whatever, or maybe they look at the sports, you know, the wrestling holds or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'll talk with Doug about it. I mean, I'll talk with Doug about it, and maybe you guys can work out when he can come over.
Okay.
That's my front door. Sorry.
I mean, I know that you are a good mom, and, you know, you told me this morning you're going to figure out what you're going to do. Sounds like you figured out some things.
Yeah.
So I know you'll figure it out, but I know now that, you know, other than things that aren't particularly Scientology, you don't
I'm outside.
want us to do that. And I got that. So
Just for the listeners, I already edited out a bunch of coughing, some hiccups, some
Shut up.
sneezing, some mysterious tapping in the background that everyone would have immediately turned off the
Aaron, again, had I known I was going to play this to the world, I would have been in a quiet, silent room, not making any noise.
This is why it takes me so long to edit these audios. Reese is like, there's a 5-second section that you should remove. It takes me like 2 hours to edit the damn thing. The audio levels are all over the place, but all right, here we go.
I was feeling you out on it, though. I mean, I know I might have upset you, but I was just trying to find out, like, you know, what you might be, you know, okay on.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but
No.
I got it. I
Yeah.
don't know how you feel about, you know, the way to happiness. I don't even think we're going to go there right now.
Oh
Anyway,
my
I think
God.
we should just work with the schoolwork, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean,
Probably
he could
just-
even go,
Go ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead. It's
No, you go
I was
first.
just to say
Oh,
the
well,
schoolwork's
let's-
fine.
Yeah, let's just go with what is okay, and that's the schoolwork. And I'm not going to say it's going to be a miraculous cure or anything like that, but it's certainly something that we could do. And, you know, if you think about it, like, you know, Huxley's been going to school now for several years. And if you figure he had him use misunderstood words in kindergarten and then first grade, and they just kind of pile up, you know,
Oh my
he could
God.
be maybe at a breaking point on the pile up of words.
Oh my
I mean,
God.
Hold
Doug
on,
could
I have a
even simply
question.
I could go over with Doug. He could just simply be like,
Yeah, go ahead.
She just said Huxley's been going to school now for several years. You know, he's been going to kindergarten. He could have a pile up of MUs as misunderstood words. Guys, I just realized something. Is that why they didn't send their children to school? Is that why kids don't go to school in Scientology? Michael didn't go to school. Sam didn't go to school. So is that it? They raised them in the org. Is that why? So they're safe from becoming serial killers? Because what happens is, you guys, in Scientology, you get a misunderstood word and that kicks off something else and makes you a criminal. And, you know, I'm going to bring that up to Tommy. I'm guessing that's why he did 13 years in the pen. He's got some kind of a misunderstood word. We're going to have to go back and find it.
Oh, God,
I'm
it's so
serious.
cringe.
Do you notice it's almost like she's kind of complaining? Like, well, he's been in school now for all these years. It started in kindergarten. Like, it's a problem. Like, his
Right.
going to public school has probably kicked this off. Did it
It's
seem that way
crazy.
to you, or did I take it the wrong way? It's almost like she's
No.
like, yeah,
As if being in school is the only place that you can be exposed to a word that you don't know the meaning of. Like, that doesn't happen watching TV. It doesn't, like, it's just so stupidly oversimplified. Those damn psychs, when they're not lobotomizing our children, they're feeding them misunderstood words.
it's all
terrible.
from the words, Aaron. It all comes back from the words.
That's right.
Okay.
well, what is addition? What is subtraction? You know, what is multiplication? You know, I'm just saying, like, we wouldn't even necessarily have to have textbooks if he doesn't have any at home.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, he could just question him.
Yeah, I'm
You
fine
know?
with him doing those things. I just am not in agreement as far as, like, because Huxley doesn't actually know the definition of the word subtraction, he's turned into a serial killer. Like, I don't think that you know, the way he's behaving comes from the fact that he doesn't know what that word means. But I'm happy to have Doug just basically tutor him. I mean, it's not going to hurt for sure.
Well, what I'm looking at is I'm not looking at one word making him go crazy, obviously. And who knows? I don't know if it's like, you know, I mean, it sounds like it's some sort of a stimulation. Again, it could be a nutritional thing. He could be low on certain vitamins, or, you know, like I said,
He's not getting enough fish oil.
She's going from one side to the next. She's just doing a full sweep. It could be words. It could be a restimulation, which
It's a
is that a
vitamin C
Scientology word?
deficiency.
Restimulation. Is that a Scientology word? I never know.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is a real word, but she's meaning it in the Scientology sense.
Right. Which is like something's triggered him and taken effect maybe from his past when you're stimulated.
Yeah. I think it could be a lack of calcium.
You think it's maybe a mixture of some vitamin DK and calcium, magnesium, maybe some B1.
Yeah, some cell salts ought to.
I was just going to say it's probably a salt and potassium deficiency, actually, now that I think about it.
He just needs a banana.
He needs a fourth Purif.
If only he had read The Way to Happiness, we wouldn't be having any of these problems.
Why don't you have him reading Clear Body, Clear Mind? That would clear things right up.
Yeah, I mean, the Way to Happiness brought crime down to 0 in Portland. Did you know that?
It never did in the United States. You ever notice in those events, it was always some tiny town in Africa? It's like there's no more crime. It never happened in the U.S.
It's either a tiny town in Zimbabwe or it's Portland, Oregon. Just don't ask anyone in Portland. Only ask Scientologists if it's true. Oh my gosh.
Like I said, Dr. Berg talked about teenagers needing, you know, vitamin D and vitamin K. And
wait, did she just say Dr. Berg?
Oh,
Dr. Eric
Berg.
Dr.
Everybody follows the Berg when you're in Scientology. I own every one of his supplements in my kitchen right now. They bought me everything.
Or whatever that video talked about, vitamins, or, you know, like I said, Dr. Berg talked about teenagers needing, you know, vitamin D and vitamin K, and or whatever that video talked about. I mean, it could be something like that. I'm not ruling any of those things out. Mm-hmm. But as far as the misunderstood words, to me, what, you know, seems realistic to me is that, you know, having many years of schooling and then the MUs pile up, and, you know, there is the phenomenon of, you know, they start committing overts and, you know, look what you did to me and things like that. And it's, you know, I mean, you kind of hear about junior high and high school kids, like, you know, destroying things and, you know, graffiti, and, you know, someone at my school, you know, that I went to vandalized the band room, you know, where all the instruments were and stuff. And so, you know,
pearls are missing.
I think to myself of the, you know, the person, you know, individuating from the area because they don't understand it. And then, you know, they start committing overts. But, you know, that may not be a realistic concept at all. But I'm just saying it wouldn't hurt to just, you know,
talk with him.
Clear up any words, or talk with him about what he might not understand or whatever, or just, you know, just talk with him. I mean, the thing is I know that you have also had really good heart-to-hearts with Huxley. And, you know, I don't know about now, but you know, you've told me lately of really good, you know, heart-to-hearts that you've had with him and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have.
You're probably the one person that he opens up to.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that he really opens up at all, but yeah. Okay. Well, why don't you go? I think you have to probably go to bed too, but maybe if you want to call Doug, that's
I think I'll call Doug, and then do you want me to just have him like text or call you about, because I know you want to talk to Jeff first anyway.
Have him text me because I don't know when Jeff's coming back, and I need to talk to him, and we're going to leave and go to Lee's Summit here when he does get back. So just have Doug text me.
Okay. So, is there anything more that you want to say to me particularly?
I don't think so. I think I've been pretty much entirely open about where I stand.
Okay. And like I say, I appreciate you being open with me.
Well, I've always been open with you. I mean, I feel like I'm the opposite of Michael and Huxley. I'm pretty open about stuff. I'm not going to hide how I feel or, the truth as to like what I'm really thinking. I'm pretty much going to say it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on some of this stuff that we talked about in our last conversation, and now I have a little more understanding and information from you, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
So, but like I say, it's nothing to disconnect over or anything like that. So,
She's still confused. There's no such thing as disconnection as you're characterizing it.
What makes me really sad about this is she keeps saying that. I'm pretty sure she says it again here in the next minute because we're wrapping this up. She says something like, we're not going to disconnect from you. We're always going to be there for you. Did you cut any of this out, Aaron? Okay, because there is a part coming up where it's kind of sad. Like she's like, I'll always think of you as my daughter. I'll always be there for you. Guys, this may have been one of the last conversations I ever had with her. When Aaron accidentally flashed up my name on that screen, I never... Quit it. I'm not saying that to rub it in. It's part of the story, Aaron. It's a big part of the story. When that accidentally happened, I never spoke to her again. This woman who's been in my life forever. Aaron, you're not supposed to drink the bong water.
You're like, Aaron, I don't mean anything by it, but when you accidentally did that, I never spoke to her. I'm sorry, I couldn't. Now it's funny because it's so inappropriate.
Do you need to take a break? Do we need to take a word from our sponsors?
I have a misunderstood word. I'm getting giddy.
Clearly, he's getting giddy. That's part of the MU phenomena, folks. Right. Guys, I'm not rubbing that in. It's part of the story. I don't know why it's funny to you.
Go ahead, keep going.
Why do you always have to make things awkward? That's my job. Guys, I know this seems like such an odd time to be laughing, but Aaron, just leave it to Aaron. Goofing. It's a lot of goofing. It's a lot of goofing going on.
I tried to hold it in.
Ridge Wallet break. Do we need a little break from our sponsors? Aaron, guys, that's an important part. I never spoke to this woman again. Let's just play the damn tape. Let's put the tape. The tape. So that time that I lost everything because of Aaron, remember that day?
Oh my God.
Happy anniversary, Reese.
Thank you. You're not even going to be in town for it. I was hoping you'd hold my hand through it. It's just going to be me. Okay.
Oh my God.
Thanks so much.
All right. We've just got a handful of minutes left on this. All right,
Sounds good.
What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over with Doug and really make sure he understands. And why don't you let me know, like the next time that he's there or whatever, and just see, how he does on that. Because I do really think he follows it with Michael, but I will find out.
Well, so I don't have any relationship with Michael.
I think, but I think what the deal is I think he knows, not to with Michael, but he probably thinks that I'm sure he does not know you feel this way. So he probably feels more like, like you're tracking or, that you.
Right. And I think when he does find out the way I feel, it's natural for Scientologists to see that I'm taking on enemy colors. I mean, he's going to see me as a bit of an enemy, but he has to keep things good roads, good weather in order to keep a relationship with Huxley is probably the way he's going to look at that now and start treating me. Like I'm well aware of how that's going to go.
I mean, the thing is we can't force anything on anybody.
Well, I know that, but there's going to be a lot of disappointment. And again, I've taken on enemy colors for sure. I know how that works.
Well, I don't know about that. I think that, he just needs to be given an R factor and, just to, like I said, to talk to you guys, like you're new. If you don't, but you don't know it, but I'm happy that you're, going to accept. I mean, I'm offering Doug's help without asking him, but Doug, he'll do anything.
Yeah.
So, he just wants to help in any way that he can. And, obviously what would be acceptable to you. And that's how I feel about it as well.
Okay.
So we will be here for you, Reese, and with Huxley as well. And, I don't have any plans to disconnect or anything like that.
Well,
it doesn't sound like.
Well, you don't have, I mean, it wasn't so much that you would have plans. It would be, you'd be told to disconnect. I'm violating some things here and I'm showing high crimes, and there is protocol on that, on what LRH says to do. So, I mean, I'm showing enemy signs.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but I think it has to be on a more serious scale. I mean, you're just basically telling me your dissatisfaction, and you're not the only one. Obviously, you mentioned it to other people as well, and I don't think they slapped any declare order on you or anything. So,
Whoops. Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like we've come to an understanding. You?
I mean, I think so. We'll just see how it goes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll just have to, we'll just stay calm about it.
Yeah.
And I know that you'll work out the best thing for Huxley that you know to do. And, I always believe in my heart of hearts it's all going to work out. But you're definitely going through a rough patch right now. There's no question about that. So, but if you, want my help or, want to bounce something off of me or anything, just please let me know.
Okay.
I don't want things to change between us,
Right. I don't think they will.
I always consider you my daughter.
Right.
I tell people all the time, I'm like, she's my daughter-in-law or former daughter-in-law, but she's like my daughter. I feel like Fiona's my daughter, and I feel like you're my daughter.
Yeah.
So I feel like as a mom, I would not just be like, F you. I mean, you're my daughter.
Well, I never have thought that about you, Brenda, but I know the stakes, and I know that there are certain things that you would have to do. There's the disconnection policy. I mean, if I were to be declared, you would have no choice.
Well, if you were redeclared, but I don't see that in your future.
Right. I'm just saying I've never worried about like us disconnecting because you're going to pull a Gene Wally. I'm saying if I were to get declared, you would have to. So.
Okay, but I don't think we even have to worry about that. I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay.
So, okay. Well, I'm gonna let you go, and then one thing that you could do is, I mean, if you want to, just an idea throwing out there. It's just Dr. Berg has like thousands of videos, and he's got several on anxiety, depression. Maybe look up like crazy kids, whatever, and maybe something will indicate to you, vitamin wise or something. Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Okay.
I'll leave it up to you, but I'm just throwing that out as an idea.
Okay.
You know, maybe he'll say something that you'll be like, oh yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, I hope you have a good day.
Thanks. Okay.
And I know you'll figure it out, but I know you're also going through something right now. So I do wish I could be there with you. So I wish I could split myself in two and be two places at once.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, I
Okay.
guess let me know too. Maybe text me and just say like it went well with Doug or whatever.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
All right.
Love ya.
Okay. Love you too.
Bye.
Okay.
And there we have it.
I just want to say, you guys, I am a busy bee. When I'm not on here, I'm cleaning. That's what I was doing. I always clean and talk on the phone. I have ants in my pants. What is an R factor? It's a reality factor, and it's just telling someone how something's going to go. It's the truth, and you're just putting it there, right?
Yes. Yeah, giving someone an R factor is explaining to them what is about to happen or what is going to happen.
Yeah.
It's
weird. It's weird. I kind of forgot about that.
It's a weird one.
Yeah, let me R factor you. That's how they'll say it. Let me give you an R factor.
That is a weird one. Yeah.
It's weird.
Let me tell you.
Weird.
Let me tell you what's about to happen. Okay.
Yeah, that's all it is, but it's R factor instead. It's so weird. So what are our thoughts on that? I'm a little sad about that one in particular, more than the others. By the way, someday, Aaron, like next year, I kind of want to play the Kathy ones again, because those were really, really fun. Because that was the first person that called me and tried to pretend. I can't believe I recorded that. Isn't that great that I recorded that? She tried to pretend that Aaron was just some guy that she happened to see on YouTube, and she just happened to see my name the second he flashed it up, and she was really trying to play that off. It was hilarious. That call was particularly fun. I feel like we should play that in the new year. What are our thoughts on that, Aaron?
It's amazing how she casually, without intending to, acknowledges Scientology's disconnection policy, that she doesn't want to disconnect from you and never really would. Implicit is unless she's forced to by Scientology. It's clear that on an individual person-to-person one-on-one basis, she doesn't want to disconnect from you in any way, even though you've basically told her 100 different times how much you hate Scientology. How much you hate it so much, your kid's never going to do it. You're going to have your kid see a therapist. These are things that a normal Scientologist following Scientology's rules would like disconnect from you for, because they know that's following the rules. So she's making it clear that she doesn't really care about the rules to a degree, but if she's forced to, she will disconnect. She doesn't even realize that's what she's saying, but that's what she's saying.
She did seem a little checked out, didn't she? Like she seemed a little bit like put off, like I don't even really know how I'm going to respond to this, which is normal in everyday life for all of us. But in Scientology, that's pretty unusual. She's high up there. She's almost clear. They really brag about that they can communicate about any subject at any time. That's what they train for. That's what you're training for, be able to handle anything. That's 2 rules for happy living. One of them is, right? Be able to
be willing to experience anything.
Be willing to experience anything.
And be willing to create any effect? Or what are the 2 rules? I forget.
I can't remember the second. I never could remember the second, but the first one was always pounded into my head. Be willing to experience anything.
And be willing to communicate about anything? Who in the live chat knows the Scientology's 2 rules for what?
Happy living.
Happy. Take care of yourself, be temperate, and don't be promiscuous. Oh, wait, that's the way to happiness. My fault. No. Okay, yeah. So
definitely don't be promiscuous. I have to remind myself of that often.
Oh, here it is. It actually came up. 2 rules for happy living. Be able to experience anything and cause only those things that others are able to experience easily.
That's it. That was always hard for me to remember. It was worded weird.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say that yesterday, Aaron, I'll actually show you because I showed everyone. Yesterday, Michael came over for Christmas dinner. Brenda's
Oh.
son. That's Michael with all of us.
Oh
That's
wow, he
Huxley's
had not been
dad.
in touch for a while. Am I right?
Yeah.
Or
Yep.
huh?
Still isn't. But he came over last night for Christmas dinner, and it was just him, and it was really lovely. And I just asked him, I said, "Where are your parents?" And he said, "They're in Clearwater." And they live here, guys. They live in Kansas City. And I said, "Happy birthday, Abigail. I see you're in the chat. Today's her birthday." I said, "Do they ever come back?" And he said, "They were actually just here a couple of weeks ago." And I said, "Did you see him?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Did they ask about us at all?" And he said, "No." And I was a little bothered by that. And then I said, "Well, what about today?" I said, do you hear from your brother ever?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Have your parents reached out today to tell you Merry Christmas?" And he said, "No." Aaron.
It's weird. They're like half disconnected from him. It's super weird.
Well, I think they've always been that way as parents anyway. They're very checked out, and Scientology comes first, but it just made me really sad. He already seems very depressed to me. He's very kind of just seems like he's barely skating by. But I said, they haven't reached out to tell you Merry Christmas? He said, "No, I haven't heard from my parents today." It's just a terrible, I just think it's terrible. I think it's a terrible example.
I mean, for under the radar Scientologists who might be watching, this is a really strange one because you are a super major SP, and Michael's
These
connected
days.
to you, and they're connected to Michael. And technically, they're not supposed to be allowed to be connected to him.
That's right.
And I'm not, I'd have to think about it for a little bit, but I'm not quite sure why Scientology is either letting them or wants them to maintain the connection to Michael. I think it's so that they at least have the possibility of keeping tabs on you, is my guess.
I mean,
what do you think?
I think that's true, but I don't know what kind of tabs they're keeping. I never see him. It's pretty rare that I see him. He doesn't ever ask me questions. He doesn't come over and barely makes eye contact with me. I have to try to pull things out of him. So I don't know. And I also wonder, do you think that, I don't think so, because they probably get regularly put on the meter. Do you think there's any chance that they're lying, that they don't speak to him? Do you think they've told the church that they don't speak to him? Because they are violating major policy here. Guys, there's no gray area here. This is very clear. I have been declared, we all know that. Michael is connected to me legally. We share a child that's a minor, so he has to be connected to me, and they cannot be connected to him. What do you think, Aaron? Do you think that they've just broken the rules there, the church has, and just lets them talk to Michael, since it's probably not very often? Why are they in Clearwater is what I want to know. Are they keeping him close to keep tabs on him? They live here.
But don't they have their kids are in Clearwater, right? Their other kids are in Clearwater.
Their other kid, but they have they have a house here.
But doesn't the other kids have new kids of their own? It might be easier for Brenda and Doug to travel than the others.
But she was a major staff member for 38 years. So she's just been kicked off staff, you think? And just
I think they kicked her off staff. Yeah. That's my guess.
Kicked her off staff and she's just free to travel to Clearwater and vacation there with her children. I don't see that. I think they're keeping her very close, like a prison almost. Like, you're not going to be allowed to go to Kansas City where Reese is. That's too dangerous. We're going to keep tabs on you here.
Oh, I think that's possible. That's definitely possible. But remember, so her other kids are ex-ESO. They're just public in Clearwater. So like Brenda and Doug don't really need permission to go to Clearwater. Like let's say Brenda was kicked off staff. Let's say she's considered like a piece of shit right now. She still doesn't need permission to go to Clearwater just to visit with other public Scientologists. Not necessarily. And I do think they kicked her off of staff. Have you asked Michael to ask her?
No, but I did ask him. I just said, "Do you know if she's still going to be that she's supposed to be the ED, the executive director?" And he said, "I don't know." I said, "You don't know if she's on staff or if she's not on staff?" He said, "I mean, it seems like she's not because she's not here." But he said, "I don't know." And they don't tell him anything, I think. And I think that's why, because they probably know I ask him when I see him.
but that's almost why I think it would be interesting to force the issue a little bit. Like, is he really not even allowed to ask his own mom a question? Is she really not going to give her own son an honest answer because she's afraid that the information might be passed on to the dangerous, relatable Reese? Let me ask you about this one from Downtown Abbey. That's huge of him to show up for his own son. He's doing what Doug and Brenda aren't even strong enough to do. What is that? How you characterize him coming to Christmas? I thought he had ghosted Huxley for months and months and months.
He did for months and months and months. All of a sudden, in the last probably 2 months, once a week, he comes to see him if he's in town. Sometimes he's not in town. But he comes to visit at my house, and he's very quiet and very timid. And I don't try to cross boundaries, by the way, guys. I love him. I care about him. We've always gotten along. I feel sorry for him, and I try to carefully just ask him questions that I know that he can handle. But most of the questions I ask, he either says, typically the answer is, I don't know. And I did have a kind of a one-on-one conversation with him about 3 weeks ago, and we were home here alone. Huxley was at a wrestling meet. We were going to go pick him up, and Jeff wasn't here. And I said, look, I know I've made this really hard for you, and I just want to acknowledge it. Like, this is a weird elephant in the room, and I know that this has made your life hard this year. And he finally kind of started to tear up, and he said, yeah, it's made it pretty hard for me. And I said, is there anything I can do? I said, I'm so sorry. And he said, my parents are just weird, and they don't really talk to me, and they don't bring up you and Huxley ever. And he said, it's just made it all very uncomfortable.
There's no getting better. I mean, like, this is like the best it gets in Scientology. There's no way for it to be better. Like, it's almost like I want to go, it's horrible that it's that way, and I wish it could get better, but it can't get better. This is actually about as good as it gets. It only gets worse. The fact that they're even pretending to maintain a connection with Michael is about as much as he can hope for. Has he mentioned anything about whether he's prepared for them to disconnect, whether he's aware of the reality that they will eventually have to fully disconnect, or they'll demand him to fully disconnect from his son? Has he ever spoken about this?
Yes, I asked him about that a few weeks ago when we were alone. We had about 40 minutes to ourselves, and I really took advantage of that because I think he also kind of gets nervous talking with Jeff in the background. You know, he doesn't know him that well. And I just said, if there's anything you feel like you want to say to me, I said, I just want to have a conversation with you about this. And I said, do you worry that your parents are going to disconnect from you? And he said, what difference would it make? He was like, I don't really talk to them now anyway. They don't reach out to me. He said they sometimes will text. And I said, what if they ask you to disconnect because to either choose between me and Huxley or your parents? He said, well, I'm never going to disconnect from Huxley. So that was something, and that was really good. It's hard for him to stand on his own. He's very insecure. He has a lot of anxiety. And I think that's all from I was thinking about this last night. Michael was left alone I was left alone from like the age of 7 to 10 or 11, 12, off and on. My dad would leave and I was home alone. Brenda left for training, as you know, Aaron, very well know, like all those training, things that they would go do for years and years. And Doug worked all day as a dentist. And Sam, the brother, was on staff full-time as an auditor at the age of like 10 years old. So Michael was left home alone all day, every day for years and years and years. Didn't go to school. So he's got a lot of, and then when he wasn't left alone and he was taken to the org, this is all stuff he's told me. He was forced to go in session and told that he was bad and pull up his overts and withholds. And as a young kid, he told me, he said, I never wanted to do this. Scientology never worked for me. I was always forced and scared and crying and nervous. And so he's just never recovered from that. He really, as an adult now, has a very difficult time being in the world. And his parents have left him high and dry. They're not here. They're not in Kansas City trying to help him in some other way, get him a therapist or, anything. They're not doing anything. They just left him. And it's really sad. So when I try to talk to him, I just said, I was like, I'm so sorry. I know I've made your life awful. And he was like, yeah, it's really uncomfortable. And he did say, he said, my mom told me that there is a SP declare on you. And he said, I guess that he did say that. I said, there is. And he said, yeah, there is a goldenrod. She told me that you were labeled an SP. And the only other thing that I guess she told him was, he said, he refuses to watch my channel. He won't watch it. He doesn't know anything about the videos. He's never seen anything. And I think it's because he's afraid to, because he knows they probably ask him, I'm sure, if he's watched anything. And so he's just not going there, right? Like he just kind of can't go there. It's too much for him, which I understand. I don't tell him to watch anything. But he said, apparently you released some kind of recording on my mom. He said that she told him that. And I said, yeah, I did. And I have more. You might want to let her know. I got a couple more in the chamber. We'll be releasing those for the holidays. Yeah.
Wow.
I know this is hard for him. I don't want to make his life hard. I really do feel like he's struggling as it is. And I apologized to him, Aaron. I started crying and I said, I want you to know that from me to you, I'm incredibly sorry that this happened. I said, I would have never, ever shared this story publicly, Michael. No one in the world would have ever known my upbringing or me being a Scientologist. I said, this whole thing was an accident, but it's a happy accident. And I said, if you can rest easy on any of it, know that our child has been saved. I said, Aaron not only saved me, he saved our kid from a life of having to try to be forced into that or going into the Sea Org. So I said, as hard as it is for you, know that like, this is what's best. This accident is the best thing that's happened. But it was really emotional and hard. He won't do that. We talked about this on a live last night. He can't even hardly look me in the eye. He can't have a conversation. He's not there. And speaking of, Carrie just asked, how did Brenda know? Aaron, how did Brenda know? Do you think people are telling her about that? Or she surely isn't watching. She's got to be checked regularly. I'm sure, right? When you have a close family member declared and publicly doing what I'm doing, surely they're putting her on the meter regularly, making sure she doesn't talk to me. She doesn't watch my stuff, right?
Yeah. Probably. But Osa and the ethics officer would tell her about the recordings and the videos. Because also the recordings, the earlier ones that we did, had stuff that definitely would have gotten Brenda in trouble. You know. So
big time.
They would have to explain to her how they know that she's divulging confidential information to you. And,
right.
And also she was guilty of not reporting some of the things that you said to her in these conversations.
Especially this one tonight.
That's in Scientology, that is a crime, failing to report another Scientologist when they say something that is unacceptable. The thought police kick, you know. So that's how she would know.
I'm sure that after this recording, Osa is going to add to her life sentence. She already has a life sentence, but I would think that she's going to she's got to have a major ethics program. She's not just in Clearwater with her grandchildren. She's scrubbing toilets, I'm sure. She's got to be, right? I mean, and I would think they're regularly checking her to make sure that there's no contact with me. And Aaron, that's what I'm trying to ask you. Do you think that she's watched one of my videos? I don't think so, because she would get in huge trouble if that was found out on the meter.
I can only compare it to my wife's mother, who, when we would send the kids over across the street, they owned the two properties across the street from our house. They didn't live there, but they owned the properties. And they would go over there sometime to do maintenance and yard work. And my wife would be like, all right, kids, go over, go say hi to Grandma Ann. And the kids knew nothing was weird or anything. They're like, hi, hi, Grandma.
Hold on. Were you already declared here? I'm trying to get the timeline right.
Yes, we were already declared.
Okay, so they didn't speak to you guys.
Right.
Okay, all right, go on. The kids are going over there then. Okay, I get it now.
So the kids are like, oh, Grandma, oh, hi, Grandma. And so she would literally report herself to ethics that she saw the grandkids and spoke to them. Sometimes she would run in the house and hide from them. But in the times when the kids caught her before she could do that, she would report herself to the ethics officer for having spoken to her grandkids.
Yes.
And so, you know, it's hard for me to understand someone being so weak like that. Cause I mean, I think that just sets new levels for just mental weakness, emotional weakness, individual
But
weakness.
let me ask you this. Was she in Scientology as long as Brenda?
Oh yeah.
Okay, well then to me that's not weakness. That's just day-to-day life, Aaron. Brenda reported herself for everything. If I had a headache, she would write it up and report it as a miscellaneous report. She wrote up everything.
Yeah.
I think it's not a weakness. It's just it's a structure that they live by. They don't even think about it any other way.
I mean, I hear you. So, but I'm using that as an example because it'd be easy for me to be like, of course, Brenda's watched some of the videos. But if you can imagine someone being that weak, where they're not even willing to just keep a little secret, like there's a lot of Scientologists who hold on to a lot of things they should
Yes.
say.
Correct.
So, you know, for me, I go, it would have been easy for, you know, my wife's mother to simply go, well, that wasn't really an overt, so I don't have to tell anyone. No one did anything wrong. Like but for her, she wasn't able to not report herself. So if Brenda is as weak as Ann Tozier is, then it's possible Brenda would never even watch the videos because she's just terrified of having to report herself for having watched the videos.
That's just crazy to me. Well,
Yeah.
the only people I worry about now, I worried about Huxley, but I don't worry about Huxley anymore. He's getting stronger every day. And Aaron, I did a live with him the other day, Huxley, and people were asking him, because we don't talk about the whole situation much at all. And he doesn't want to see a therapist. I bring that up and he's not ready. He says, but somebody asked him about how he feels about it now. And it was so mature. He just turned 14 and he said, I don't really think about them that much anymore. It was very sad. It made me cry. He said, I just think about the love that my mom has for me and Jeff and my other grandparents. And he said, and I channel everything into sports and my football and wrestling. And he was like, and he said, he goes, they made their choice to leave me. And it was so sad. And I feel just the same about him as I do Michael. I feel like Michael is struggling so much. And it's just, I told him again that day, it was about a couple weeks ago. I said, if you have any terrible thoughts, I said, if you feel alone, you can come and live here with us. I said, I will absolutely take you in. Jeff has no problem with it. And I said, I don't want you to feel anything like you're spinning out of control. You know, I don't want you to feel those, like I'm all alone. Nobody cares about me because your parents are such pieces of shit. And he was crying. And I said, I want you to know that you always have somewhere to come. Like you can always, I will always help you. And it's a really terrible situation, guys. I'm glad we did this video today because I hope there's almost 3,000 people watching. Hopefully one of you are under the radar and you can see that Aaron and I are not Hitler. SPs are not evil, like they say. And it's really causes so much heartache. It's just a ripple effect. It's awful. It's terrible.
Yeah. I still truly believe that Scientology's destruction of families is the worst thing about it. Honestly, I mean, maybe that's just because it's just so personal. And I also feel like it's one of the things that makes it stand out from other groups that are considered cults or high control groups or even other religions that people tend to think of as culty is, you know, when I was talking to Shalise, she was in Mormonism. She's got the Cults to Consciousness show. She basically is she is to Mormonism what we are to Scientology. And yet her Mormon family members are allowed to talk to her. And I remember when she was explaining this to me, I was just shocked.
They're allowed to talk to her?
Yeah, they're allowed to talk to her. It's not, and I know there's shunning in other groups. I do understand that. But I
didn't even know that. I didn't figure Scientology was.
There's some other groups where there's shunning, but even their version of shunning, it's not like. Anyway, I don't want to talk above my pay grade here. It's just the way Scientology goes out of its way to gratuitously destroy families is what I find the worst thing about it. And and while I'll never get sick of talking about it. I'll never get sick of exposing the horrible stuff. That's why I say I'm motivated by revenge, Reese. And success is the best revenge, by the way.
You know, I have a new saying too, because you keep saying it's every day's a good day not to be in a cult. Do you remember the other day when we did a video about all the stuff in the ethics book, and what was one of the crimes? Committing a problem.
Yeah, committing a
Well,
problem.
now I sign off and I say, if you're a Scientologist, remember, don't be a part of the problem, be the whole problem.
If you're going to commit a problem, really commit.
Jump in
the
with
problem.
both feet, guys. Be the whole problem.
Really commit.
Don't be a part
really
of the problem.
commit
Yeah.
There are some super chats that have been accumulating. You want to go through them real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. Abigail S. By the way, Abigail, I got the amazing blanket that you sent me. And Reese, you got one too, right?
I did. I told everybody, I think Aaron got one very similar. It's hilarious.
Yeah, the characters have different names, but it's awesome. I think I sent Abigail a photo of the blanket, but now I feel like I took the photo and then never sent it. So if I didn't send you the photo, Abigail, I apologize for that. Anyway, she goes, I can't stay.
Guys, look at this blanket.
Yes, it's amazing.
And notice that Tommy's has prison stripes.
Makes sense.
Poor Tommy. And it's her birthday today. Abigail's birthday is today.
Oh, that's what she means by changing decades. What is she
Yeah.
turning 30?
Well, I don't know. I don't know that much about her. I don't know her social or anything, but I know it's her birthday.
Okay. Happy birthday for me means money for you. Thanks
I
for
love
being
her.
awesome, Aaron. That's nice that she said Aaron, but the super chat was on Reese's channel. I just want to make that clear.
How do you know?
So-
You can't tell.
Yes, you can tell. I've got the streams in front of me.
Oh, well, haha. Sorry.
So happy birthday, Abigail, and happy birthday, Reese.
Thank you so much, Abigail, for your $20.
Melissa Turcotte, love the uncomfortable giggles. Laughter is healing. I did try
She's
to
talking
keep it on
about
Reese.
Brenda. She's talking about Brenda. Brenda had awkward giggles. I think that's who she's talking about because people were talking about it.
Oh, okay. There you go. Amy Lee SP, for all you under the radar Scientologists watching, I really hope you get to experience unconditional love someday. It's a beautiful thing.
I don't think it's going to happen for them, but yeah, it is a beautiful thing.
Do you think that her and Doug miss you guys? Asks Bigsy.
Based on my asking Michael if they even ask about us, even Huxley's birthday was just recently, and he said no. So what do you think, Aaron? I don't know. Do you think that your children's grandparents who you were talking about, do they? I mean, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I think Scientology really, really teaches you guys to remove any and all emotion. Like when, for instance, like when my husband died, immediately they were doing an assist on me going, look around here and find something that doesn't remind you of him. So it's like they try to remove any of the heart and emotion out of things by doing training and assists. It's a big part of Scientology. Aaron, do you agree? I don't know that there is any kind of feelings there of what?
I have the solution though. If Scientologists would just take a little bit of mushrooms, they would realize all the emotions that they are pretending do not exist. They would immediately have to come to terms with some emotions. Yes.
How do you know this?
I speak from experience.
Did somebody tell you? Was it coming from a friend or?
I speak from experience.
Okay.
Yeah. Why do you got to make it awkward?
I don't make it awkward. You've told me one time you crapped your pants at work. It can't get any more awkward than that. You did mushrooms.
That was one time. That was 2009. That was a long time ago. You don't have to keep bringing it up.
Aaron, since then, I've crapped my pants like 10 times. It's fine. Go on. What'd Michelle say?
Michelle Myers. I created OT9 and 10 on Chat GPT. There you go.
Fancy. Thank you, Michelle.
I want to know what it said. Kylie B. Love your work. Sad to think we get one shot at this life, and yet they so easily disconnect from families. Yeah.
Aaron's right. That is the worst part. You want to do all this other weird hocus pocus stuff and go over and touch that wall and now touch your left nip. Because that's actually that's one of the TRs. You want to do weird stuff. That's fine. But disconnecting from and tearing apart families, especially children, is very wrong. It's very wrong.
Yeah. Christine, what happened to Doug? Would he be punished to?
Good question. Aaron would know that more than I would. Aaron, please.
Well, when you say what happened to Doug, so Doug wasn't on staff. Doug didn't do anything wrong that I can recall.
He didn't do anything wrong, but again, I imagine when your close family member is declared and going on YouTube talking about your whole life, what would happen to Doug? Like, would they put him on some kind of a program to deprogram him in some way? Or surely they don't just go, hey, she got a goldenrod, here it is. So take care, Merry Christmas. I mean, I would think they would start putting him
He
on
wouldn't
some
be
kind
he
of
wouldn't be in trouble though. They would just require him to disconnect. They would give him an ethics interview about the whole thing. They would ask him they would say, usually they would say, do you want to handle or do you want to disconnect? But in this case, handling wouldn't have been an option.
There would be
So
no
they would
option.
say, how do you want to do the disconnection, handle the disconnection? And he clearly opted for the ghost option. Like he never, remember Huxley had to chase him down to ask him if he
That's right.
disconnected.
Yeah.
And so I don't think he got in trouble though. I don't think he got in trouble.
But why is he in
Maybe
Clearwater then?
one of the things they'll do sometimes is if someone like Doug was connected to Huxley very, very closely, and someone could have gone to Doug and said, you had a blind spot with Reese and you should have known, you should have spotted her out ethics. And the reason you weren't able to spot her out ethics is you have some sort of a blind spot. You have some sort of mutual outrudiments. You have some overts and withholds that prevented you from spotting this the whole time. That is, it depends on who's dealing with him. They could just let it go, or they could make an issue out of it.
Okay.
I think that the ethics officer at Flag is the one dealing with Brenda and Doug, would be my guess. I'm guessing they don't trust the ethics officer at the Kansas City org to deal with this stuff, especially since it involved someone who was on the Flag executive training program, especially since it involves a big, bad local SP like yourself, local to Kansas City. I'm guessing they only trust the Flag people to deal with this. And that might be part of the reason why they're spending so much time at Flag.
That's what I think. And I think they're trying to keep them out of Kansas City because I'm here, and maybe Doug would find himself feeling weak, and maybe wanting to, I don't know. I think there's a lot of reasons though that they're not located in Kansas City.
Yeah, that could be. Last one here, Susie, CJ, my Reese, I love you, little mama.
That's so sweet. Thank you, Susie. Aaron, thanks for your time. We know it's not cheap.
I'm glad we did this. Do you have any more, or is this the last recording?
I do. I have another one about her really complaining about being on the training program.
Send that one to me again. I think more than what we already did.
Yep, I have one other one that I've been kind of holding back on because it's pretty heavy duty stuff. It's really, she's gonna have it's. I would think that she's gonna be cleaning more than toilets even on that one.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, I know this was, this was one of the tougher ones, but
yeah, it's got to be done though. It's necessary because it really could help somebody else see the light. And let's hope that it does, even if it's one person.
Exactly. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us this evening. Thank you to everyone who watches until the very end. Don't forget, go subscribe to Relatable Reese on YouTube.
Yeah. There's a lot of people in here. Come over and subscribe to me. I'm trying to get to my anniversary. At least it'd be cool to get to 20,000, but we'll see.
Relatable Reese, subscribe to her. I'll put the link in the pinned comment, guys.
Please do. Thanks, guys.
Adios.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here. Bye.